YouTube, what is going on? Chris with Journals, Comics and Pop Culture. We are live for Comic Book Canon Episode 4 pre-show live. As always, for those watching on the rewind, I will advise to fast forward a couple minutes, let some folks hop on the live stream as I sit here and anxiously await our awesome show that we're going to have tonight. So, another Friday. Like I said, it is episode 4 tonight on Comic Book Canon. Go ahead. I'm going to drop the link here. And I want everyone to go check out the Comic Book Canon YouTube page. Go give us a sub over there. If you are watching this on the rewind, and you can't catch the live show, still go click the link. Give us a sub. The link is right here. It is also in the description below for those watching on the rewind. You can get access to it right there. Click the link. Give us a sub over there. You can check out all of our past shows and even excerpts of shows, certain segments of shows in their own video. Lots of good stuff. Follow us on Instagram at Comic Book Canon. That's Canon with 2 N's. For myself, you can follow me on Instagram or Twitter at journos_comics. And obviously, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Be much appreciated. Ali and Isaac, what is going on, guys? Thanks for joining this evening. Again, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern. Comic Book Canon Live. We got some real interesting news tonight. It's been a crazy week just in the world in general. We're going to touch on some things and hopefully touch on some things about how the comic book community can be a shining beacon of light in a world where things seem to be dark at times. We'll discuss some of those things, but there's a lot of interesting pop culture news this week as well. Isaac, have I heard that the 2012 Subway team teamed up with DC Comics to make a comic book? Wow. I have not. Although I do have some really, really interesting DC news that might change the game of comic books in the future. I won't get into it right now. We will be discussing this tonight on the Comic Book Canon show. But man, DC is really shaking some things up. And I personally think it's a positive shakeup. We're going to talk. My co-host Jeff and I are going to talk about what kind of effect this can have on the industry long term. So that's going to be exciting for sure. So let's pull up the lineup of what we have going on tonight for our Comic Book Canon show. Like I said, we're gonna. It's been a crazy week, and it's not going to do us any justice without talking about some things that kind of hit closer to home and have a bit more importance than just us sitting around talking about geek stuff. So we're gonna have a statement to be made for sure. But alongside that, when we talk about pop culture news, man, DC and Diamond, big topic to discuss. We're going to be talking about Batwoman again in the future for the Batwoman show. We already know that Ruby Rose is going to be out, and what does that mean for the Batman character? There's been some more news this week, and I don't know. Personally, this is riding a fine line here. If this is going to be good news for the show and CW moving forward, very interesting stuff. Evan Peters might be on WandaVision. Evan Peters played Quicksilver in the Fox X-Men franchise. So there's obviously a lot of rumors. Is he going to be playing Quicksilver? What's he going to be doing in WandaVision? We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about movie releases, Wonder Woman, some DC releases. Obviously, we got Marvel films like Black Widow pushback. So with things slowly seeming to open up worldwide, what does this mean? Are we going to keep the release dates as they are? I certainly hope so. We'll be talking about that. At the same time, I want us all to keep remaining safe and obviously take the proper precautions moving forward. So we'll be talking about movies and when it is that we're going to be allowed to grab our popcorn and sit in a movie theater. And even if movie theaters are open, what does that mean in terms of like the environment? Are we going to be limited capacity? Limited seating, social distancing? Are we going to be allowed to eat food and consume food and beverages while watching a movie, or will we have to be masked up? It's going to be interesting what that's going to look like. Cyborg might be popping up in maybe a cameo role in a upcoming DCEU movie. Some fun stuff. We got some Shield stuff, some interesting Shield talk. I mean, we know that this is Shield's last season, no matter what. And we know that Marvel Television. Ultimately, this is the last we're going to see of Marvel Television. Everything's streamlined under Marvel Studios now. But some interesting things that popped up on the show over the last week that we'll be discussing, and then some real positive community news within the comic book world and comic book stores and LCS is getting involved in some giving back. So for me personally, I've been a recipient of some act of kindnesses lately. I've had the pleasure of handing off some act of kindnesses, and I continue to love to see kindness in the world, and especially when it involves comic books in the comic book community. So some awesome news there coming out of Southern California, where some things happen. But hopefully what's been going on in Southern California can spread. Ali, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I hope everyone else is doing good and being safe and blessed. What am I doing right now? I'm sitting here with you guys and warming up for the Comic Book Canon show. You see the link on screen. It is in the description below as well. So guys, make sure you go click that link, sub us up at Comic Book Canon, and check our live show out tonight. That's going to be happening in just under an hour and a half. Isaac wants to know what my thoughts are on HBO's Green Lantern TV show. Man, I am excited for it. And I don't know obviously we don't know too much about what that's going to look like. I'm hopeful it's going to be done a lot better than the Green Lantern film. Although, to be honest, personal opinion, I don't think the Green Lantern film was as bad as the critics thought. And I mean, it was, it was a bit of a disappointer. But I mean, hey, you know what? My kids enjoyed it when they watched it. They were little then. But I think where we're at now in 2020, moving into 2021, with the standard that's been set with the advancement in technologies, I think just being able to bring Green Lantern into live action and bringing in more realism to the character and to the show and to the story, I think we're going to see something decent. That's for sure. Mike, what's going on? He says, save your money. Were you talking about the movies? Going to the movies? Isaac. Oh, big happy birthday to Isaac. Gemini. Happy birthday, Isaac, man. Hey, it's big. We celebrate you for sure. Cool Comics. So bad it was good. Green Lantern. Yeah. I couldn't get over the ring. And I think about that, and I think about how can you, I mean, we know this is superhero stuff, right? We know it's comic book stuff. But I really enjoyed, especially with Marvel, and how they've been able, I mean, we've got a tree, a living tree, a talking raccoon, we've had all different kind of things in the MCU, and they've done it in a way to make it believable, right? At least in my opinion. And I still want to see a character like Green Lantern be a bit more believable, if that makes sense. And I even think about that when bringing Fantastic Four into the MCU and with the character like Mr. Fantastic. You know, uh, we've seen it, you know, on Flash with Dibny's character, you know, Elastic Man or whichever one he is. And I mean, it's not horrible, but you take CW, you take those shows for what they are, and they're fun and entertaining for the most part, and it is what it is. But you know, when you talk about the cinematic universe, I think you got to take it up to that next level. And I'm really interested in seeing what Green Lantern is going to look like with this ring abilities. And I'm also interested in seeing what Mr. Fantastic is going to look like in the MCU when he goes stretchy mode. How are they going to make that really blend into the realism of this universe so far? Movies and new comics, save your money. Uh I I'm really interested in seeing what new comics are going to be looking like with DC in the future. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to get into that here. I'm going to say that for the Comic Book Canna show. We're going to dive deep into that for sure. Have you heard writer Jeff Johns is making a Joker story called Joker Wars? Yes, I have pre-ordered 2 copies of issue 1, one for myself and one for my son. I'm really interested in that. You know, I don't really know the details around it. Obviously, the big hype was the new character, you know, and the hype around issue 89 or 92 of Batman. What's the first real appearance? And we have this Joker War coming out, and we're being brought in with a 4-year now understanding of what happened in Doomsday War, and at the end of New 52, with Batman coming to the realization that there are possibly 3 different Jokers, and if there's always been 3 different Jokers and whatnot, and this has been lingering now for 4 years. So is this Joker War? Is this going to kind of dive into this more and reveal what this? There was 3 idea that's, like I said, I can't believe it's been 4 years. So I'm excited about it for sure. I haven't caught up. I haven't read any of the tie-ins that have been leading up to it so far, but I'm definitely at least going to read the standalone issues. That's for sure. Simon, what's going on? We are doing good. It's another Friday, ready for tonight's show. I just went over some of the rundowns of what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about more Batwoman stuff for the CW, and I think it's kind of controversial, but not controversial like that, but controversial in the sense of like, I think their decision making can really like, it's either really going to make the show continue to be successful or it's going to hurt it. And it's like they're making some real tough decisions, or really interesting decisions moving forward with this Batwoman show. And then we got some shakeups in the comic book industry itself. So real interesting stuff to talk about today. That's for sure. We talked about movies getting back up and running, movie theaters, and what that's going to look like. And it's going to be crazy, you know. Here in California, we have the governor just announced today that they're going to be sitting down next week to try to implement a possible stage 3 opening, which might allow like gyms to reopen. And you know, hey, I'm all for it, not to get too much into this because I know it's like I don't want to get into like the politics of it and all that, but I'm all for obviously getting back on track and reopening, especially helping out businesses and whatnot that have been struggling and people that are out of work. I can relate to that, obviously, especially since you know you get laid off because of this crisis, and then you get denied unemployment. I mean, it's not fun, but it's interesting to me because it seems the narrative I feel now might be coming from political pressure, because where at first, we had these extremes of wanting to map out, the stages of opening. Here in California, we only went into stage 2 a week and a half ago. And now they're talking about going into stage 3 already. So my questions, and I'm posing these questions more as, say, like a journalist, not really having a biased opinion, but really looking at it logically and saying, if we understand this virus is what it is right now, understanding that there could be a 14-day plus incubation period, and then where it's, anywhere from like 60 to 80% of carriers can still be asymptomatic, do we even allow stage 2 to gauge if there's going to be a spike in cases? So that's just where I'm not promoting a anti-reopen, or I'm not promoting a pro-reopen. I'm not one way or the other. I'm just really looking at how it's interesting that we waited, we had strict shutdowns for so long, but then the reopening is kind of happening like that, without us having to gauge the statistical analysis of the effects of the stages of reopening. So I am concerned of a stage 2. And when we talk about the things we love here with pop culture, comic books and movies and stuff, it's like, I don't want to be in a situation where we move through the steps too quickly. We open up movie theaters, and then we get a stage, not a stage 2, but a second wave. We get a second wave of infection, and then it hits us even harder, and everything shuts down again. And then, when we talk about the livelihood of businesses, and even, things relevant to this channel, movie theaters and things that we enjoy to love, although those are kind of like first world problems. We can live without movies, right? So we're in a very interesting point in time amid this pandemic right here, because I think, we are going to see if opening without a vaccine, or without any further understanding of beating this virus, is going to do. We're going to see that in the next couple of weeks. So, and I hope we could keep going in this direction. I'm not against that. Obviously, I want to see movie theaters get back open. I want to see schools get back open. I want to see people get back to work. I want to get back to work. I'm afraid that my job title might not even be there next year, because, I do 2 jobs. So I'm a paraeducator, and I'm also a athletic instructor. And I'm wondering if my athletic instructor job is even going to be there, because are we going to be able to interact with kids in the same way, or are the kids going to be able to interact with themselves at the school in the same way? So there's a lot of question marks. I'm going to keep staying positive and keep praying and sending energy out to the world to just hope that we could get through this. I hope that everyone is at least taking the precautions, following, if a store wants you to wear a mask, or wants you to keep, social distancing standards and cleanliness standards, just, please abide by it and respect, their rules. It's a very small inconvenience to us, if we even say an inconvenience, for just the precaution of others, regardless if we didn't take up the precautions, if it didn't change infection rate of this disease virus. Right now, I just say, keep being safe, keep being respectful of others, and just, have a very balanced perspective of wanting us to move forward in the right way, to where we can do it while staying healthy and still not, spreading this virus even further. So that's kind of like, that's my rant on that. I do have a high risk son at home. So anyone, where those things are close to heart, you have to have a little more, I don't like using the word fear, but there's some more worry, and concern, and you want to be a little extra cautious. My dad has autoimmune deficiency. He has no immune system whatsoever, and he's elderly, and it's like he can literally lose his life from catching the flu at this point, let alone a virus like this. So you worry about those things. Thankfully for him, my mom is with him, taking care of him. He doesn't need to go out into the world much. They've been doing like ship to home grocery and so forth. So but me with my son, that's kind of different. I don't have the luxury to completely stay home just because I want to keep him safe. When I have to go back to work, I have to go back to work. Um, and I have to go out into the world to get supplies and stuff. So I'm obviously taking precautions for myself and my family, and I hope everyone is as well. So let's move on from that, because I know that can get depressing. We've been dealing with this for a few months now, and yeah, So yeah, Simon, I'm just trying to stay positive. Yeah, and the protesting too. And this is no. Let me just state this. I'm not stating about the protesting. We've had multiple different kind of protesting, right? And I'm not I'm making the statement without having a bias opinion on any protesting. We had protesters that came out protesting certain issues with the shutdown. We had protesters protesting, police brutality and everything else going on right now. No matter the protest, that is worrisome. Where you have, although I've seen a lot of people wearing masks, and that is awesome. Hey, they're out protesting, but hey, they're wearing masks, but there's no real social distancing, right? I mean, you have thousands of people, so I'm like, okay, yeah, we're in a couple weeks here, we're gonna see. Like, I hope. Whew, so and again, I'm not undermining any cause. It's just you have to question that, like, oh man, like, okay, let's hope that all of this these functions with no social distancing, and we'll see if that brings on a spike or not. So yeah, but with that, I will say, guys, we're gonna address this in the show tonight. I do feel like, I mean, we're living in crazy times, guys. It's the world's all, we've always, every generation has lived through something that has defined their generation. I mean, when you think about Don, what's going on, Don? Thank you for stopping by, man. When you think about I mean, a big one to think of is and when you talk about this country, obviously there's a lot of atrocities around the world. Things that, like, we being Americans, like, I mean, we are so privileged, because there's so many things going on in the world every day. I mean, I lived in Richmond and grew up in Richmond. You call living in Richmond a war zone, but there's some real war zones. Don't get me wrong. I'm not undermining the fact that, there's problems in cities and inner cities, or whatever you want to call it. Um, but we are, there are communities, and there's poverty in other countries that makes United States poverty look like fine living. But when you talk about things that define generations, I mean, World War II was huge. Coming the Great Depression, going into World War II, and then obviously Vietnam, and there's so much more going on during Vietnam, with the civil rights movement, with an awakening of a generation that really shaped and molded the future of the world, the future of a country. There's always been things, the assassination of our leaders. I mean, there's always been defining moments through everyone's generations, and I think this is really a defining moment for us, and that's us, with people like our age, and especially this younger generation. I mean, it's gonna, like, I mean, 9/11, although that was, one instant that happened like that, it had such an impact that the impact never went away, right? you know um I mean, I still remember waking up that morning thinking that World War III started, and, like, it's just these certain things, and we're living in that right now with the crisis alone. I mean, this pandemic is something that nobody alive has ever seen, except for maybe certain individuals that are still alive that lived through the Spanish flu pandemic, but they probably don't remember it because they probably were babies. For some of those that are still living, but um, see you later, Mike. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Um, but right now, you know, we have a pandemic to live through, and then we have a lot of other things going on, obviously, and we see the protests right now, and I think for 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 the way that I would address it is I know that we are living in polarized times. We were living in polarized times before all this, but that's why I always use this platform in my voice in this community as a way to say, look, there's always a time to listen. Okay. And I think we have come, when you just talk about politics, we've come so far that we can't even discuss things and disagree without attacking each other. And you see that come up in comic books, and you see that come up in pop culture. And, you know, that hurts my heart, because I'm someone that wants to see people for the good that is in them as individuals. I'm somebody that can, you know, see what we have in common rather than where we differ. And I think right now in history, we are almost at a pivotal point where if I think if we don't do that, I don't know if we're going to come back to it. And I like to use things that are non-divisive to bring us together, like the opposite of division, right? That's unification. And that's why I use comic books. Comic books in this community shouldn't be something that divides us. It should be something that brings us together. You know, and sometimes that'll look like this. It'll look like leaving our politics at the door, right? And just talking about what comic books we're reading right now or what we love about this hobby. Sometimes it means maybe bringing certain social issues or the politics into it and having a respectful conversation about it, but leaving understanding that we are still a community, we are still family, we're still friends, we're still there should be no hate, and we need to have those conversations. Is there a time and place? Obviously, you know, and I will say, you know, I did a live stream a good few weeks ago now, where I addressed something. You know, I had a special guest, B Level, who's a big Star Wars fan, and we all know that the Star Wars franchise and the Star Wars fandom has been kind of a there's been some division, you know, and it's been going on for a couple years now, and I talked about that. I talked about issues within comic books as well, and we brought it all together, and I allowed that platform to be one to say, okay, look, let's listen to both sides of an argument. And we did. And I had people in that chat on that stream that were on extreme opposite ends of politics. But everyone listened. There was one issue. I had one issue in that stream, and I let everyone know. Guys, I'm not going to censor you. You could come in. We're talking about sensitive topics. I want you guys to freely express yourselves. I want you guys to have different opinions. I want you guys to go back and forth, but you do it respectfully. And if anyone becomes disrespectful or starts name calling, I'm going to give you one warning. And then if you don't understand and don't stop, you're outed. And I had to give one warning to one person, and then they didn't stop, and I had to block them. And after that, and this was a 3-hour live stream. After that, it was good. Everyone was good. So, you know, I felt it made my soul feel better that I was able to sit there for 3 hours and talk about sensitive issues, and have everyone say, well, this is what I feel about this, but, you know, I kind of feel like this, and that's different than how you feel. Well, let's talk about that. Why do you feel like this, and why do you feel like that, and why do they look so different? Bring them to the table, right? Talk about them, find what we have in common. So that's my message, guys. I'm about to get off here because I need to get ready for the comic book canon show tonight again. The link to the show is in the description below, so go check us out. Give us a sub if you haven't done so yet over there, guys. And again, man, I love you all, man. I love everyone that comes and watches my channel. I support you all. I you know, I try my best to, I hate using the word neutral because I don't see it as being neutral, but I do my best to welcome everyone and be inclusive, right? And I find the good in all of you, and that's what I'm here for. And I think right now in this world, that's what we need. But at the same time, you know, I feel if certain people have to address certain things going on in the world, no matter what your platform is, you know, that's why You know, we've seen a lot of people speak up recently with everything that's going on. Even in the comic book industry, we've had publishers speak out. We've had industry heads and executives speak out. We've had politicians speak out, police officers speak out. A lot of things are going on right now where it's just, you know, we should at least be open to the conversation. Okay. And I hope that once we do, we can look inside ourselves to still hug and love our brothers and sisters, no matter what. Right. Because that's what matters, man. There's so much humanity within us all that cannot be overlooked at this time. It's the only way we're going to get through this. So, guys, all right. So, man, comic books, guys. I love you all because of our common joys and commonalities of something that is much deeper than a childhood hobby. And I will end the stream on that, guys. I appreciate you all for stopping by. If you haven't subscribed to me, please do so, obviously. But again, say one more time, please check out the Comic Book Canon Show, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern tonight, 1 hour away. Link below to the Comic Book Canon channel. Find us there. My co-host Jeff and I. Thank you guys again. See you guys then.